Hi there, my name is Will Barford. I'm a teacher trainee student and I've been with the Warwick Teaching Alliance this past academic year. For this year, it's been a road of ups and downs, what with everything that's been going on in the world. But I thought today I'd share a little bit about my experience, and I would also showcase a science experiment which I learned on the course, which I thought was extremely good to use, and I have used it myself within schools and outside of schools with other people, and they've all really enjoyed it, so I think it would be a great one for you to take with you going forwards. So one of the best things I found about this alliance is that for me it's been one of the most bespoke experiences that I've had throughout my career in general. The rest of the people that have been on my course this past year, they've always come to me and asked me about what I'm doing, because my alliance always seems to be putting something on just for myself and the other people part of it. The fact is that whenever there is a chance to talk with my alliance, they're always talking about CPD opportunities, ways that we can develop me, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, how can we take them to the next level. And that's been a key factor in me progressing through the teacher standards and getting to those higher grades this year. If there's a situation where I feel like I need a bit more work, they'll send me to a professional where they can give me more support and more focus in that area. Or if they feel like it's more useful for me to go on a training day, they will send me there. Or even if there are schools in the local area which really showcase what I'm interested in, they will put me forward through those schools so I have opportunity to experience what it's like to be part of that environment. It is an extremely well tailored course, and I have really enjoyed being a part of that. One of the things that I feel is really positive as well is that I know that I've progressed a lot throughout this year, but my progression doesn't stop as soon as this year is over, and I will need to keep progressing moving forwards in order to become the best teacher I can be. And I think that mentality has really been helped by this alliance. There is a constant need for, right, what's next? How can we keep moving forwards? And that's something that I feel very passionate about, because I don't ever want to be just a good teacher. I want to be the best I can be. And so having that support and pushing me as much as it has been really good this year. What I thought I'd do now is I thought I'd talk a little bit about the experiment. As I've mentioned, a lot of children have enjoyed it over this past year. The best thing about this is that it brings in quite a few concepts to do with science which you can introduce at different key stage levels. So it doesn't matter if you're working with EYFS level all the way up to key stage 2. There is information that you can pull out of this. You can talk about, for instance, with the EYFS children, you can talk about the difference in colours. Why do they think that is? And get them to start thinking scientifically. Why is there separation? Is there other materials that causes this sort of effect? Thinking about colours. You can even combine this when you are, say, making a mix in cooking. You could have a situation where this effect occurs, where there is separation, and we'll go on to why that happens. But you can introduce that and get them noticing this information even at that level. Working through key stage 1 higher, you can then talk about different gases that come into play, talking about density, and you're bringing in a lot of key vocabulary. Whenever I do a science experiment, I always find it's really important to establish ground rules with the children. I want them to know exactly what they can and cannot do during the experiment, and then I've got that ability to bring that back in when I'm using behaviour management tools, and it keeps the pace of the lesson because children aren't wondering where they're at, they know where they stand, and I think that's really important when doing a science experiment. So the key things I took away from this year through teaching science is you are always thinking like a scientist. You have to be using that vocabulary, you have to be having those expectations and that exploratory investigation skills. That is what you need to instill in the children, because it is something, that idea of exploring and developing through learning is something that is so important in the early years but can get lost as they go through the school. So to keep that fire burning, you really need to show that you're passionate about something yourself, and I've been really passionate this year with teaching science, because you can really see a difference when you are passionate about something and when you haven't got that going. So What I thought we would do now is we would finish me talking and we'll get on to the experiment. We're going to be making our own lava lamps, and I've got with me some water, some oil, some food colouring and some Alka-Seltzer, and they're the key ingredients here for this experiment. We're going to start with our water and we're going to pour a little bit of the blue food colouring into it. Now I'm using food colouring gel, but you could use whatever you would like, and then we're going to stir it up. And at the moment what's happening is the blue food colouring that's in there is going to diffuse within the water, but I am going to help it along a little bit. Once you've got the colour that you desire, so you don't have to use blue, you could use whichever colour you want, but blue is my favourite, so I am going to use that. So you take your blue food colouring and you're going to pour it into your container. Now that I've filled up my food colouring into the container, I'm then going to put in the oil. And what we should see is a clear divide between the oil and the water. So let's see if it works. So what you can see is we've got a lot of bubbles everywhere. When the water and the oil initially mixed, the oil did go into the water, but it has now since split. So we have a clear divide between our water and our oil. And the reasoning behind this is that actually water is more dense than oil, and so that sinks to the bottom. And in addition, the bonds between the two, the water and the oil, do not attract each other. They actually form that barrier because there is no attraction between the two. So now we've got the clear separation between the oil and the water. We're going to now cause the reaction that's going to be our lava lamp effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Alka-Seltzer and I'm going to open it up and get a tablet. And I'm only going to use half a tablet at this point. So I'm going to pour this in. And when I drop it, it's floating down, but you can now see the bubbles rising. And the reason why the bubbles are rising is because the water and the Alka-Seltzer react and CO2 is released. And that carbon dioxide connects with the water and brings it up to the top. Once it then reaches the top, the bubbles burst and they will float back down as droplets. And you can see them as droplets because obviously they're dense and they sink to the bottom in the oil. As I say, this experiment is great. You can do it with all different age groups and you can bring in different vocabulary depending on who you're working with. Thank you very much for joining me today for this experiment. I hope you learned something that you can take with you going forwards into your teacher training, and I hope as well that you are obviously keeping safe and staying well in these times. Thank you.